Hey everyone, welcome to Limitless Radiocast, episode 74. Hanging out with Gannon Lang. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Keenan Cornelius. We get into some of Gannon's background, competition, injury report, what he's doing in the future, what he's up to, and much more. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We'd also like to thank all our friends who help and support Chad and I do this show each and every week. Magic City Brewing Company located in Akron, Ohio. Limitless Tape, M&H Beans, Gateway Dental Care, Hoist IV Level Hydration, Lashley Nutrition Supplements and Supplies, Thomas Webb from D. Hoff Realtors, Lanky Fight Gear, Red Tail Tattoo Company, Candry Law LLC, and last but not least, James Klingerman's BJJ Foundation. Check them out for amazing BJJ techniques, help, and instructionals. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. So, hey, Chad is back with us this week. He's feeling better. Chad, welcome back, my man. I'm so glad that you're back with me, this tandem that we're doing in this craziness. So today we're hanging out with the amazing Gannon Lang. I almost forgot your name because I was just asking about who promoted you to black belt, which is he is a BJJ black belt under Keenan Cornelius and Andris Brunovskis. I'll let Gannon explain it more. Gannon, thanks for hanging out with us, man. Appreciate it very much. I screw up every intro. It'll never get better. I'm just an old dumb guy. So thanks for hanging.
Thanks so much for having me, man. It's been really cool talking to you guys through Instagram, and just happy to be here.
Awesome, dude.
Cool.
Hey, two things I want to say. First, I want to congratulate you on your engagement. No, you got engaged pretty recently, right? And obviously, congratulations on being promoted to black belt. I know that was fairly recent as well, correct?
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, crazy couple of months. It's thank you.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, how is BJJ treating you now?
Awesome. So, I recently moved back right after I got promoted. I'm kind of in the process of negotiations with a couple different spots.
Nice.
For the people who live near me, it's around Cosner's Corner area. It's off I-95, probably some of the worst traffic in the land. But hopefully we can find our way around that. But right now I'm training with Colton Smith. You guys might recognize the name from like the Ultimate Fighter. He was on that season with like Let Me Bang Bro.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys trying to calm the dude down. So I have a really tight relationship with Colton and Rich. They train in Stafford, Virginia. So yeah, right now my students and I are just training there and kind of waiting to see what we can make happen.
Yeah, we actually have Colton lined up for a podcast late in October.
Oh man, he'll be great to get on here.
Yeah.
He's an awesome dude.
So I got I've heard his name before, but we just had a guy, a Marine just moved up here, Jesse Gonzalez. I don't know if you know Jesse or not. He said you might know him. Familiar. He said you might know him, but he trained with Colton a lot. So he told me to reach out to Colton for a podcast, and I didn't know you were linked to that whole group either. I had already talked to you, you know?
Yeah. When I got my brown belt, I was previously under Nakapon in DC in beta, and I was driving 2 hours to and from, because I'm from Fredericksburg, which is kind of like
I read that, Virginia. Man, and I was like, that my man is dedicated,
dude. It was a ridiculous couple of years trying to make that commute 5-6 times a week, Monday through Saturday typically, and it just got to be too much, and that's kind of where Nexus came from. And then I linked up with Colton and started training with him before I got involved with Keenan and Andris and everyone.
Sure.
So he put 2 stripes on my brown belt before I went out there.
Nice. Very cool. Oh, I thought you were going to ask something else, Chad.
Nope. Just moving.
It says DC guys. All those you got, it's traffic, and then there's a lot of good DC gyms around there and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So that's very cool. Very cool. Hey, I'm just going to ask, did you watch the Open last night? I know, Chad, did you end up watching any of it?
I didn't get to see much of the Open. Okay. No, I did not.
Did you watch some, Gannon? And when I say Open, everyone, I'm talking about the ADCC. If no one knows, everyone will listen to the show probably grapples. The Super Bowl's happening this weekend, everybody. AKA grappling Super Bowl. Maybe. I consider it probably it. So
I did see a couple of my old training partners at Legion were there, and I know I have a couple friends like locally here in like Virginia that competed as well, and it seemed like everyone had a really good time. I mean, the event looked super, super nice. I'm pretty sure Andrew Tackett, that is, won absolute or something like that.
I think he won both.
Sick.
He won both. He won
double golded.
Yeah, he double golded, because I seen the finales match on Flow, and then I watched the absolute later because the absolute was crazy, and he was just phenomenal, you know.
Man, him and his brother came through maybe a month before I came back to Virginia, and they are sick. Like they're probably even better in the training room than there. Like in competition. I mean, like, of course they're amazing in competition, but
for sure,
like just seeing them kind of even just playing around, like some of my best training partners were having like the time of their lives with them. It was wild. But,
I thought I saw a clip on Instagram of another Tackett brother.
So there's 3 total.
Yeah.
But
there's a younger one, right?
There's a real
younger one.
Yeah, and he's so I'm not familiar enough. Obviously, Chad, you know this, and Gannon, just so you know, I'm a student under Chad. Just to give you a little bit of clarity of why I would say, Chad, maybe you know this more. Like, he's a green belt. At least that's what I saw. The younger,
oh, is he?
I think the younger,
he's 15, 14 or 15.
Okay, is that what it is? Yeah.
Man, and I mean, those guys are legitimately bred for being good at jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
Yeah. Just talking to William and Andrew, just like listening to their lives, they like
that's what they
are homeschooled. They just do jiu-jitsu all day, and their parents are super into it, obviously. And it's just like the perfect storm for being very good at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's what we're seeing now with the Rotullo brothers were like that. I think Kolabate was like that. Like,
for sure.
These guys are just savages, man.
Yeah. And it's a different time, like versus, let's say, years ago, whatever. You didn't grow up in, like, unless you were in that community instantaneously when you were kind of born type deal, or your parents put you in super young. You didn't grow up in like a grappling community type deal, like where you were on it all the time. You know what I mean? I
didn't even know what jiu-jitsu was until I was 17.
Did a friend like turn you on to it, or did you see something?
Yeah, so I was playing soccer from like 4 until 17, and I was super into it for a time, but it just kind of got monotonous just doing it so much.
Sure.
And I was looking to try something new. And I had a friend in one of my classes. I knew he was a fighter, right? Like he was like an MMA guy.
Sure.
And I went to one of his fights, and I thought it was awesome. But I was more interested in like the grappling aspect, because I asked him, I was like, what is the one? Because I knew he trained like Muay Thai, kickboxing, like MMA, and then jiu-jitsu as well. And I was like, if you had to pick one, what would be the best one to focus on? And he said jiu-jitsu, and that just kind of started the whole thing.
It's crazy how it does that. Like, I'm a late starter and started to my 40s. But like I played sports and stuff, so that kind of was there already. But how the addiction becomes very, very quick. Like either you like it or you don't on your own. But Chad and I have those conversations a lot, like the puzzle solving and just the constant learning, and just like, you're never going to figure it out completely. But I think that's what brings you back a little bit, right? Would you guys both agree?
100%.
Yeah. I think I've told people before, I think jiu-jitsu is one of the only things that we can do, like obviously live, and get an answer for your question that you address, right?
Sure.
Right.
Whatever you say, it's going to work or it's not going to work. You're going to know right now.
Yeah. I mean, it just has such real world consequences, right? If you mess up on the soccer field or the football field, well, football is a little more realistic, right? But it's like, if you mess up on the soccer field, for example, it's like you get the ball taken away from you, but it doesn't exactly, like, you're not getting choked.
Right, exactly.
Your arm broken or something like that. So it's just very real and quick consequences.
That's like a different level. If wrestling, it's the same thing, but you're almost, you're not in physical danger when you wrestle, like outside of grappling. We all use wrestling in grappling. I understand that.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Like, even if you wrestled through college, high school, whatever you've done, it's still not the same thing as getting on a mat because someone's choking you, arm barring you, doing something, a heel hook, an ankle, whatever it is. Submissions are coming, and you know it. and so you're right, Gannon, there's some more realness to it, I would say.
Man, speaking of which, I wish I got into wrestling as a kid instead of soccer. Like now looking back,
that's what every BJJ guy says.
Yeah, right. I wish I started earlier. I wish I did wrestling or judo beforehand. Sure. I just went in as a soccer player, like 125 pounds, and just got.
Hey man, you had cardio for days. You had cardio for days.
For sure, yeah.
I used to say that all the time because I never wrestled either. I came from a karate background, growing up in the 80s. And I was, I'm 6 foot, but right now I'm about 150, 155 pounds. When I started jiu-jitsu, I was like 130, just tall, lanky, skinny, no ground experience. So I used to say that like, man, I wish I would have wrestled. But then sometimes I go back and be like, well, would my guard game be as developed as it was? Because I was on top smashing because I could, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I always wonder, we talk about that little ripple in the pond and how it would change your whole game, maybe.
Yeah, that is a great perspective. Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a lot of people, especially at the more MMA centric gyms that I've seen, it's like their guards aren't as developed as they might have been if they just didn't do wrestling beforehand. Because I see a lot of wrestlers like they're into MMA, but then they go to jiu-jitsu like just through attrition. Like they need jiu-jitsu to fight MMA. And I just find when you roll straight jiu-jitsu with them, it's not the same like level that you would expect because like they're out in like winning pro matches, but it's mostly with like their superior wrestling and then like a sprinkle of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, for sure. That's what, when we get, really good wrestlers that come in, my two things is you're going to train in the gi and you're going to play off your back. We're going to develop some kind of guard because you can get on top whenever you want.
Right.
Be real about it. So we try to develop those wrestlers right away. It takes, they're stubborn.
Right. Yeah. And especially with the wrestlers, it's a lot of these guys that I've seen, at least they wrestled since they could walk.
Right.
For the most part.
Sure.
And it's like, you could not do straight wrestling for a couple years and just focus on your guard game and still be able to take people down in jiu-jitsu,
Yeah, for sure. Especially up here, we live in Ohio. So this is, you play football or you wrestle usually, those are the two big things.
Yeah, that's it's big here. Those are two big sports. Baseball and basketball are huge, but if you're playing football, there's probably a good chance you may be around, the wrestling guys or in the wrestling room or doing something like that. Because some of those techniques can also transfer onto the football field as well. Just techniques alone, like to keep your balance or keep your base and stuff like that. But yeah, have you had that experience always, Gannon, with wrestlers, like when you've had the opportunity to like teach them, coach them, train them, whatever?
Yeah, I would say, all of the wrestlers that I've come across, outside of like the really top tier, like Justin Flores type people,
right?
Like they are stubborn and they don't want to learn the other side of it. They're like, why would I learn the ground game, like like off of their back guards? Sure. If I can just stay on top and win by the 2 points or just pass their guard and Kimura them or whatever it may be. And it wasn't really until I got kind of linked up with Justin and Colton that I saw people willing to do it all. Like, for example, those two people in particular, like they're very willing to do every aspect of jiu-jitsu or like just grappling in general.
Sure.
And that kind of like gave me a new appreciation for wrestling because I was like a diehard guard puller until I was like halfway through brown belt. So the stand-up is still pretty new to me. So I'm kind of doing it the opposite way.
Right.
Sure. Which is okay. Like if you have a good guard game, it you know what I mean? Like the wrestling can kind of take care of itself as time. Wrestling up and stuff, you could probably still wrestle up from the guard position, not even knowing it. That's not the takedown game. The takedown game's a totally different world. Once you learn the guard game, you do learn that kind of wrestle up stuff, from shin on and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure that you wouldn't be where you are right now, man, if you weren't like super good at it. So or the takedowns will take care of themselves.
Man, some of these, like I kind of had to. So what happened at Legion was when J-Flow started to come around a lot more often, which was like pretty soon after I got there.
Nice.
We started having what we just called like pro training. That was essentially all of the like top brown and black belts, and we would do wrestling and well, mostly wrestling, but with like a tad of judo, and then we would like just start on our feet and then jujitsu afterwards with J-Flow, and that was some of the most intense training I've ever had in my life. Just having like, it's such a different type of cardio, trying to stay on your feet, and that was where I really, like I said, got more appreciation for it. Because then I can't pull guard and then do what you were talking about before, where I was kind of coming up.
Right.
And sometimes Justin would just be like, after you take someone down, you just pop right back up, and it's just like wrestling.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Which was so foreign to me.
Yeah. And they can wear you out so much. Their hands are always on you.
And it's like your neck is just your neck constantly.
Yeah, man. You can't get up. Like, Terry wrestled a little bit back in the day. The wrestlers just always are on top of you, hands somewhere.
I'm very comfortable to keep grips, or even like no-gi, like having those ties, right?
Those collar ties and stuff. Yeah.
Very comfortable with that. But I also get my head in there too many times too. So that's very not good, because that's just a wrestling habit. Like, I'm very head forward. Like, I'll use my head to do things. And that's why I would always get marked up, and I would come home and my wife is like, you don't do whatever it is. You're in Fight Club, aren't you? And I was like, sure, honey. And
you're just not allowed to talk about it.
Right. You just can't talk about it.
And Chad would tease me all the time. He'd be like, well, if you keep your head and face out of there, you wouldn't get this. This wouldn't happen to you.
Don't lead with your face. Don't lead with your face.
Bam, just head butting.
You're like, I've been doing this for years. Though.
Right. I'm like, yeah. This is why the intros still suck, everybody, because I had too many concussions. Which, when I had concussions when I was a young person, those weren't considered concussions. When you actually saw like dizziness start, you just kept going.
Right.
Like, get up. Yeah.
Just get up and like, oh yeah, I got my bell rung. Okay, let's go again. Let's keep doing this. Whatever it is I was doing at the time, but whatever.
Yeah. Nowadays it's like people are really, especially in the wrestling and like just grapple sphere or whatever you want to call it. It seems like that's becoming more and more prevalent. Like I'm hearing about people not competing, or just like not wanting to ever compete again for the foreseeable future, just because they've like gotten a lot of serious head injuries. And I'm like, I'm glad I just started wrestling now.
Like, for sure.
It's super dangerous.
That, along with the weight cuts and
I
think they've tried to clean that up a little bit. People are still going to cut weight, that, and, the skin check stuff, the wrestling with the funk, and we all deal with, right? I know a couple of years ago, last year, there's a kid at the Ohio State tournament that made like, I don't know if it was top 8, whatever it was, but he failed skin check and couldn't wrestle. Like, can you imagine going that far? And then
that's a bummer.
But again, back in the day, it'd have been like, hey, tape that up. Put some
we
tape on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So at least it's coming, getting better.
Yeah. And it should be for the health of people, athletes, anyone that's doing it. It's like,
for sure.
It's like us cleaning our feet before we step on the mat. Like, that was never a thing. Like, we didn't do that.
No.
Like, you could be the dirtiest person in the planet, and it's like, wrestling today, man, this guy stinks. Well, I might stink on purpose because I want you to be miserable.
I want you to think soap that before you put your face in.
Exactly. Like, those are little secrets that we used to
Thank God for defense soap. Defense soap is good.
For real. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out.
Joe Rogan shouts them out all the time. I know we're not going to get as much play off of that,
but we use it on the regular.
So Defense Soap is here in Ohio as well, up in Cleveland. So Guy Sacco, the owner of that, I talked to him one time. He's like, every time Rogan like name drops us, we come in Monday morning with like crazy orders.
Wow.
Just from a little
social media is so powerful.
It is.
That's insane.
Yep. He said it's nuts.
Speaking of social media, man, you have a ton of great content out there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It seems like I'm on, watching jiu-jitsu all the time. And it seems like in the last couple of months, your videos just started popping up more. Has it been?
Oh, awesome.
Has it been that like in the last couple of months where you've seen more traction?
So I think it was, I was tracking it literally 2 or 3 days ago. I had 3,500 followers like 7 months ago.
Okay.
Wow.
Or 6 months ago or something like that. And then I remember I had one video and I got to like 7K, and then it was like a slow grind to 10K. And once I hit 10K, it was just like 300 people a day. Yeah, it was like ridiculous. Nice. And ever since I came here and I started working like a job that isn't at Legion, like I work for a security bypass company, which is sexy talk for lockpicking. So
that's awesome. I love that.
It's definitely very, very cool. Like it's something that I've never really been involved with before. But essentially now I don't have as much time to put into my content. But
sure,
back at Legion, I mean, Keenan and Miha, they were always telling me like, look, of course, competing's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But if you really, really want to make money in jiu-jitsu and you want to be successful in jiu-jitsu, you have to be able to brand yourself. You have to be able to like put out value. And the only value that I could really think of is just putting out all of the best techniques that I've like kind of collected over the years and like kind of my take on them. Because I've trained at so many different gyms, just kind of trying to figure out where I fit in.
Sure. Yeah.
That I've gotten a lot of different styles. I think I've been to like 5 or 6 jiu-jitsu gyms now. So a bit of a criage, if you will. But
that's awesome though, for sure.
Thank you. It's been a really crazy road. Like I always thought like, yo, if I could just make it to like 10,000 followers, like that would be so cool. And through my job at Legion and just being around Keenan and all of those people there that are more into the social media stuff, they taught me a lot about how to kind of catch the algorithm, if you will. And that's what a lot of my content is like based around, like trying to catch the algorithm and get in front of new eyes.
Yeah. Keenan's one of the best at doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
The Fritz dagger, you know, like just like the Reddit king. He was literally the first person who him and Andris were the first 2 people that I saw. Like I think a lot of people came across them at like Lloyd's, Metal Chaser stuff.
Oh
yeah.
All of that. And that was really, it was just amazing to kind of watch where he went from. So I started in 2014, which was, if I'm not mistaken, like a year after Keenan got his black belt, or maybe the same year. Okay. And back then, I mean, he was competing super crazy actively and all of those things. So he was like someone I really looked up to, still do. And it's just like trying to figure out these ways to not only just win competitions, but also like brand yourself as something different. Because I think a lot of people kind of take that route of like, if I can win worlds, then like my life will be changed and I'll make $1 million and all of that stuff. And it's like, there can only be so many world champions.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm trying to like figure out a different way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. A good point. I mean, Chad and I have talked about that before. Like people do in our community, they strive to win that top spot so they can get the instructional videos and
all the accolades,
and get all the accolades. And it's like, is that the only way? It's probably not. Like, or I mean, let's not even say probably. It helps, sure, but
for sure,
you can still, if you can get your brand at a pinnacle point, you can be successful. There's plenty of pieces of pie, as I like to say all the time, for people to get. So, what were you going to say, Chad?
I was, for some, that's, I hate to say easier, right? But doing it, winning a world title and getting it that way might be easier than what Gannon's going about, right? Just because it's
you're grinding.
Yeah.
I'm not saying other people aren't grinding hard. Don't get me wrong.
It's straightforward, I would say, you know, like it's so, like, don't get me wrong. I loved competing. Like when I was like, so I dropped out of college and I was just like, look, I need to compete every single weekend. And I feel like that's how I'm going to find a career in this. That's how I'm going to like find success. And when I kind of found out that it's like, yes, you need to win a certain amount to kind of like validate yourself as someone who knows what they're talking about, but you don't have to per se be a world champion to like make a living. that was really where I started getting interested in things outside of that.
Gotcha.
How much did you wrestle with that decision when you were like, okay, this is what I want to do? Like, I'm going to follow my passion. I'll follow my gut.
Oh man. I mean, I think I only got through, so I never wanted to go to college. So I started jiu-jitsu when I was 17. I had my purple belt when I was 19. So I think
man.
And even I think I wish I started earlier, you know, how it is, like everyone does, but I didn't even want to go to college. Like I did the first year and I did that just because my parents wanted me to. But eventually I remember it clearly. I had a day where there was a local purple belt, the guy who actually got me into jiu-jitsu. He invited me to like roll. And I was like, awesome. Yeah, let's do it. And he was like, the only time I have was during the time that I had a math test, or I think it was a Spanish test actually. And I just ditched the Spanish test. And I just went over there to roll with him. Like something that was worth 15% of my quarterly grade, I just said nah to because this guy wanted to roll. And that was really where I was like, I'm wasting money here.
Sure.
Like,
hey, at least you figured that out quickly and you didn't like go through the whole ultimate like, oh, my grades are terrible, or fail, or flunk out, whatever, if like a semester, but keep doing it.
Spend more money before you realize, right?
There are people that do that too.
For sure. And another thing was I was just hearing about, so I had a couple friends that were older than me and they were graduating and they had degrees and they just didn't really use them.
Sure. Yeah.
And they had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And I kind of already knew what I wanted to do. So I did end up going back for like a business class and like a marketing class and things like that. But I never really went and got a degree per se, because I felt like black belt was kind of my degree.
Sure.
And what I like to, so the way that I sold it to my mom when I wanted to go out and train under Keenan, was like, this is like the Harvard of jiu-jitsu. Like I want to go and try and get my black belt from someone super reputable. Instead of staying in Virginia. And I wanted to like make my part of Virginia, because I know there are other sick people in Virginia for jiu-jitsu, but I just wanted to really make my mark in my part of jiu-jitsu, to make it like a destination, kind of like California is, and like Florida and Texas and big places.
Yeah, good for you, man. Like I always encourage people, even my kids will be, or they are encouraged the same exact way. Like, do I want them to go to college? For sure. But if you have that passion to do something, don't just do it halfway. Like, do it all the way. And that's what you did, man. So don't sell yourself short. Like clearly you made the right decision. I mean, look at you now. Like, and I know you're in that the academy thing and all that kind of stuff. But hey, you're still on the right track and you're young. You're super young, man. So you have a ton of time, and good for you to go back and do, some business stuff, because obviously that's going to be in your wheelhouse, owning your own gym and going forward and everything. I know you had Nexus and, COVID came and all that kind of stuff, but hey, man, like good for you that you got that part, and you can still, like I said, you're young, and anyone out there, doesn't matter how old you are, you could still go back to school and take a class or whatever might help you. So, that's awesome. Very cool.
Well, thank you. Thanks a lot. And I honestly, one of the coolest things about Legion and Keenan and everything they have going on there is, I mean, you might not see it from like the outside looking in, but I learned more about business there than, and arguably, I probably learned as much jiu-jitsu as business being there, but I learned a lot about how to like run a successful school and business and things like that. Like they're fantastic at what they do there. And it was very, eye-opening to see like a jiu-jitsu gym that's run like a real business.
Sure.
So hopefully I can emulate that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Definitely. And what's awesome about like what you just said, Gannon, the evolution of jiu-jitsu and grappling in the community has changed over those last 10 to 15 years. Like it's always been a business, don't get me wrong, but it's the evolution of it has become to where you can really brand the business. You can be, there is good, like your jiu-jitsu, we say, hey, you're a professor, like black belts are professors because they spend a long period of time getting to that point, and they're not going to stop. Everyone out there, you all know this. You guys just keep getting better and smarter and teaching us that are, want to be there. But you also learn a lot of other things along that entire road, like business stuff, family, friendships, how to speak to people, how to treat people. So it's like a whole school of education that you can't get. You know what I mean? Like if you think about it in real perspective, the amount of time that it takes you to get to become a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like an entire education of life that you can't get in day-to-day college and, many other things. So, I argue that a lot anymore. I think now that I'm in the community, I'm like, the more I see it and study it and understand it, it's like, no, you learned business, man, when you went out to California with Keenan, and that's huge. That's going to put you even more successful in your future.
For sure. And I think a lot of people, they don't realize everything you just said. Like as far as even just building connections in a healthy and like fun way.
Sure.
A lot of people, they're just like, what can I get out of this person? And then they move on to the next person type thing. And I've found that just making real connections with people instead of moving the way that I spoke on before is just, it benefits everyone involved,
100%, which is another awesome thing about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It does that. Many times I've went on that tangent on the show about, wow, I found a family that I never knew existed.
Right. Yeah.
I found Fred doing this podcast. I am now, I consider you a friend. Like, it's like, hey, if I saw you, I'd be like, hey man, how's it going? How are you doing? That kind of stuff. It's like, you don't get these connections. I'm not going to say you don't get these connections outside because I'm very biased. Chad and I have the bias in the jiu-jitsu community, but hey man, there is some difference, I say, in the jiu-jitsu community with people.
For sure.
Especially when you're getting choked out by people.
Yeah, that's a different type of closeness.
Yeah. We just had we had a newer guy this week. He's taking a trial class, so I worked with him Wednesday night, and he was a little hesitant. Like he kept his hands back, like we were doing some half guard stuff, and I said, hey, just hug the guy that you never met in your life. I was like, don't worry about it. I said, I'm not going to hurt you. And I said, do it. You're not going to hurt me. I was like, just put that weight right into me. Like, put your arms around me. It's okay, man. I was like, because this is one thing you have to learn to do. If anything else, you have to learn to be okay.
Yeah.
Touching me.
Yeah.
Sweating. Just sweating on me. It's right. Like, I'm
but
it's gotta be,
it's gotta be so intimidating to walk into a gym now too. Like,
oh yeah.
That class that kid came into, it was myself. I'm a black belt. And then my fellow black belt, Pete Schock. We have 2 black belts in the same class. We probably had a class of 25 people.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of upper belts.
And you got this brand new guy walking in.
Right.
Like, it's got to be tough. I can't imagine, like back when I started, it was, in 2004, like a big class was maybe 10 people.
Wow.
And it was like, holy crap. What are we going to,
what are we going to do?
Man, I bet back then seeing like this is what I hear, like seeing a purple belt back then was like a unicorn, right?
Absolutely, man. It was crazy. I don't know what belt. We'll talk about Andris a little bit. So Andris lived in Cleveland, Ohio here for quite a while. And I don't know if he was a blue belt or a purple belt, but if Terry's probably never watched any of his matches, you'll have to watch Andris compete.
I will now that I know.
People would wait for him. I don't think anybody even knew who he was, It's like, hey, there's that skinny purple belt that's up. And people would flock to his mat. Wherever he was rolling, there was a crowd of people because of the way he competed, man.
He's a black belt under Andre, though, right? Cabo?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did see that when I was looking.
But he was an amazing competitor. He used to wear this, like, I think was it Superman? Like a Superman backpack or something. I just remember seeing him compete.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, he was young too, he was really young then, but man, he was wrecking the scene in Ohio.
Dude, Andris is one of the greatest jiu-jitsu characters of all time. He is a hidden gem in the jiu-jitsu community, and he's not big on, like, he's not a big social media guy or anything like that. But as you know, like, anyone who has met him, they will never forget Andris. They will never forget him.
You have to put, I've been trying to message him on IG to get him on the podcast. You have to put in a little word for him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I
don't know if you know how much, like you said, I don't know how much he checks his stuff, but
he's like never on there. Yeah, I'll hit him up because he, like, more people need to be aware of him. He was probably my main coach while I was at Legion, to be honest. I mean, we're similar size, and I mean, like, in between all of the injuries that I got there, like, he was one of my, like, main training partners, and just such a fantastic dude. I lived with him for many months. Nice. He's just an awesome guy.
Yeah. With awesome jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I remember going out there, and usually, like, around here, like outside of Colton, like, most of the black belts here, like, when I was a purple brown belt, like, I would have, like, good rolls with them, or I would like have my way with them. I went out there and rolled with Andris, and he just, like, it was like I was brand new.
It was like, what the heck?
For him at all, like, at all. It was a completely humbling experience to be around that level of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Man.
Which is actually really good in jiu-jitsu to experience that, because what do we talk about this all the time, like, you know, ego and humility. Like, you can be a train wrecker and destroying everybody, and then, you know, or
you meet that one guy.
Then you meet that one guy,
and you're another
like,
guy.
What the, like, what
There's
is
always
this?
someone. There's always someone.
It makes this martial art sport, whatever you want to brand it as, amazing. Like, because of that reason. Like, it's, and wow.
Honestly, I think that the reason the whole leave your ego at the door and ego is brought up so much in jiu-jitsu is because it's probably one of the most ego-filled sports. Like, across the board, you know, it's like we wouldn't be talking about it so much if it weren't apparent. But I experienced very little of that, like, even less than I thought I would, training at Legion.
Nice.
Which was really cool, because that was the first gym that I had been that's, like, at that level. Even visiting. So it was just really refreshing to meet someone like Andris and meet people like Keenan and just, like, not experience that at all.
It makes that transition really good. Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah.
And kudos to them for creating that atmosphere. That's not easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, in this sport, which it is ego driven. I mean, it's two people, you know, trying to choke each other, and there's going to be a lot of emotion and ego in that. So kudos to them for doing that, because he's got a lot of students, right? That's
oof. Yeah. I would say they're upwards of, like, 400 plus at this point.
So
it is. And that's only the people that are signed up there. I mean, they have so many high level people, obviously, in San Diego that just want to come and train. And I mean, on any given day, we would have, like, J-Flow, like PJ, like, all of the people that already train at Legion, and so many, like, dudes that are winning all of these big tournaments. You'll just see them, like, I'm pretty sure I was just, like, working front desk one day, and Keith Ricorian just came in and
just walks in.
Trained. Yeah, he just walks in. He's like, "Hey, do I need to pay a map fee?" I'm like, "No." Like,
you're good.
No, you do not.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I saw a video. Canuto was there one time. You know,
and
it's
that's
crazy.
Another really crazy part about Legion that I think is kind of different than a lot of other places. They have Jiu-Jitsu X as well, where all of these really high level people are coming out to film. That's actually how I ended up at Legion. I was, like, filming my first course out there, and then I was staying for the week, and he invited me into the fighter house, and then the rest is history. But, like, most of these people are coming through for, like, 2 days to a week, and they just train with us while we're there. And it was just a crazy experience.
Yeah. It's so awesome to have that plethora of being able to train with people like that, like people that are at the top of the game, top of the jiu-jitsu world, like having that opportunity. It's because it's only going to make you better. You know?
And I hope that never changes. We always talk about, like, we can train with the Michael Jordan of our sport to a point, right? Like, I hope jiu-jitsu stays that way, where you can still do that.
Like pure. Like,
pure.
It seems
just pure, you know. I'm sure they'll be the top guys. Like getting to go train with Gordon probably isn't going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the role with, he's not, you know, but it'd be good if it can stay that way.
Go ahead, Gannon. What were you going to say?
A lot of people hooping with Steph Curry right now. You know,
not happening.
Not a lot of people going out there and like just like playing on the court there. But if you show up to any like given class, like you could see Andris, you could see Keenan, you could see like all of these like crazy high level people, and they're just there.
Right. They're just there. Right. And the ability, like you're not going to, you sign up for basketball camp. He ain't there playing basketball with you. You go to a seminar, that person that's there for that seminar is teaching you. You have a one-on-one verbiage, and maybe there's a role that happens after the seminar that you may have an opportunity to, you know what I mean? Like that's, you just can't get that in anything else.
No, we've had a lot of good. So like back in 2010 was the first time we brought in Marcelo Garcia in 2010 for a two-day thing. And that's when he was on top of the world. I mean, 2009, 2010, and he rolled with a lot of people.
Wow.
You know, and I got to roll with him. I can't, you know, it's crazy to think back, you know, that you got to roll
long ago.
Right. Yeah. Most of those guys so we do an annual cancer awareness event every year, and we don't donate the money to a local cancer organization. And we've had like the who's who, and man, they all come in and roll. Muhammad Ali and Najmi, and we've had a long list of people. So
it's very good.
That's awesome, man. And especially to just kind of like piggybacking on what you guys were saying about like being able to fully experience it, not only teaching, but like rolling with them and feeling how good some of these guys actually are is very humbling.
Yes.
It's very humbling.
Even as a white belt, I just asked, I wasn't, and I was a spazzy white belt for like a week.
Yeah, not too long.
I'm too old. I was just like, oh, I get it. I get it pretty quickly. But so I rolled with a couple of the people that have come in the past and stuff like that. And just this, like, I'm like, oh, that's what it's like to be like, I get it. I'm a white belt, but I was like, this wouldn't matter. I don't care who I was. Like this is what it's like to like, this was 10 seconds. Like it was 10 seconds and it wasn't even a bad submission. It was just like, bam, bam, bam. Thank you. Go away. I was like, I'm going over here. I'm good. Good times though.
To talk about, we always talk about being that 2 to 3 or 4 steps ahead of everybody. You know, you want your next move to feel it with the high level guy is something you can't explain to people.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sure you're like this, Gannon. You like think through it like quickly, right?
Trying. Yeah. Man, like rolling with Andris, it's like I'm trying to play checkers while he's playing a complicated video game.
Right. Yeah.
It's like some of the lapel stuff that I was working before, I thought was like pretty sick. And then I would go out there and he's like throwing the entire lapel encyclopedia at me. And it's humbling is a good word to put on that.
Do you have a favorite game to play?
I typically stick to, so I kind of created a system around like whether you want to call it single leg X worm or Anubis guard, but I called it Anubis guard. And that's kind of my main go-to game. I'm big on Barambolos. I'm big on Spider Lasso. And nowadays I actually can take people down. So I like doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
So that's really where I'm favoring now, especially training at Colton's, where all of these high level wrestler and like judo-esque people are. It's nice to kind of work on that kind of stuff. But a lot of this, what I was actually very surprised about at Legion is we barely ever learned any lapel stuff. It was like mostly passing, if anything.
Oh, okay.
And I would have expected like the opposite, but they kind of told me when I got there that they do that on purpose. Like they don't want to give away in a public class where there's 60 people on the mats to like all of these people. Like they don't want to, I don't think they're like keeping secrets from anyone, but it's just, if they come through and they only learn lapel stuff, it's like, they're only going to have one style for the entire school.
Sure.
So I think they're just trying to avoid that. And they have like 10 different instructors. So
Oh, I thought you were going to say something, Chad. Go ahead.
No, I was just, I think Anubis guard is where I first saw your first video, or one of the first ones I saw of yours, going to the tomb. And then what were we doing off that? I don't know. It was worm to the Anubis and all that. I've been trying to run it a lot.
Awesome. I honestly, I haven't played it enough recently because I had an injury right before I got to Legion. I popped my rib, and then like my third roll with Andris, I didn't know Andris was a pressure passer. And then I rolled with him and he popped my rib again. And then I took a couple months off and I popped my rib again. And it just like kept happening. So like eventually I just had to tough it out and train anyways. But there were many months where I was out there and I couldn't even really train. I was just drilling. But yeah, those injuries are really stacking up now that I think about it.
I was going to ask you, what's your worst one? What's your worst injury?
So rib. There was a grappling industry. Yeah, the rib is definitely
pretty bad.
Stops a lot of it. The only other serious one that I had was I had an overhooking armbar on someone and I popped my clavicle like out of place.
Oh crap!
Like
dude.
My own clavicle while I'm armbarring someone. I'm like, how does that even happen?
I was gonna. That's what I was gonna lead with. Is how does that even happen?
Wow. But those are the two main ones that kind of hold me back. Like I have a really bad back just from inverting so much, and I made up for my hamstring inflexibility with like my lower back just goes like that. Like most people can kind of like hinge at the hips. But like my fiance is always making fun of me because I stand up like a turtle.
It's not funny, but you're like, I'm a 90-degree guy. Like I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all right. You can come up with some new moves off that.
Yeah. So now I'm honestly having trouble playing my own
your own game.
Like nowadays.
Sure.
So I'm kind of finding ways around it. And I don't get me wrong, like I'm still developing it from a drilling standpoint, but as far as like my competition career is kind of like it's slowed for sure.
Yeah.
But I would like at black belt, I do want to like try and get out there and like do some stuff. So I'm trying to figure out like ways that I can kind of change my game a little bit so I'm not putting my ribs in so much danger, because even as recently as a week or two ago, after 3 or 4 months of them being pretty fine, I felt it pop a little bit again, and it's just like I'm gonna have to deal with it for the rest of my life, and I'm gonna have to like figure out ways around it.
Once
do you
those
guys have any
tendons
serious ones?
I don't, fortunately, because I didn't start jiu-jitsu till I was 41 years old, so I have a lot of like old crap where I'm like achy and I walk around like a 70-year-old man. But that's because I was very hard on my body like for the last 45. I'm 45 now, 45 years. But Chad, you've never had like a significant injury, have you?
Nothing crazy. I mean, just the normal aches and pains, my fingers hurt every day, pretty much. But we got limitless tape to help with that. Right. So you should have yours pretty soon.
Oh yeah, I actually have it right here.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, good. Thank you guys so much. This is awesome.
For sure, man.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one, I had a knee, like you ever have a deep bone bruise, they call it? Way back. This is way back. I was a white belt, and we used to do this like match of the week thing to kind of get you in front of everybody, to compete, get the nerves out, get the adrenaline going, and it was way smaller back then. But I had somebody in an omoplata, and they stood up and like shook me off their arm, right? And the side of my knee went right into the mat. So that was it was like, I even actually went to the doctor for that one. Like, none of us like going to the doctor and like admitting, because it's going to take you off the mat for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
That's such a jiu-jitsu person thing. Like, I don't want to go to the doctor. I know what they're going to tell me.
Yeah.
It's going to tell me not to train.
Right. And that's not an option.
Yeah. My girlfriend Autumn will always say like, hey, do you want to get that checked? I'm like, no, they're just going to tell me to rest. But anyway, that was probably one of the worst ones that stuck with me for a minute, but
yeah, those bone bruises are rough. I had one on my shin once. Like I was trying to go shin on shin with someone, and they like stepped forward as I tried to connect, and it was just like boom, and that one was rough.
That's awful.
Those bone bruises are
they're nasty.
And again, as we always say on the show, go out there and train jiu-jitsu, everybody. If you don't train jiu-jitsu, you're missing out on a lot.
Be the best shape of your life.
Best shape of your life. But in all honesty, we know this. All three of us know this, that it would change your life no matter what. Like
100%.
You don't have to train as hard as what competitors train, or you can still go in and train at a high level, still be able to get really good jiu-jitsu. Just seek out a good academy and make sure the atmosphere is good, like Chad said. And Gannon, you talked about that and being out there at Keenan's place. And so yeah, anyone out there that's listening, I encourage you still to do it, even though we talk that you can be banged up, because hey, that's what we do.
Yeah. Hey, here's the thing. No one wants to mess with a cripple. If I just walk around and
you're right. Exactly. Here's the thing. You can never stop, because you will like seize up. Chad and I were just talking about this week. Like if you quit completely, like walk away and go, I'm done. Oh, man. You can't, like your body's going to be like negative. Like you're not getting up ever.
Good luck. I know some people who went into just weightlifting after training jiu-jitsu for like 5, 6, 7 years, and they just became like tight, they couldn't do anything. Really strong. Don't get me wrong. And really big, but they just they didn't. I think they just didn't ease into it well enough. Like they just wanted to be like, I want to get huge, and it just didn't go well for them.
Yeah. We were talking this week too about what's your take on this, Gannon? Speaking of lifting versus, let's say, body training, like jiu-jitsu, what would you say is better in your opinion?
I think they complement each other really well. I didn't find really any significant success as far as like competing or anything like that until I started doing some form of weightlifting. And my fiance is really, really into weightlifting. So I think it definitely, like, I don't enjoy it as much as her, but I see the benefits, So I definitely prefer jiu-jitsu, but I think if I only did jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't be as effective at it, if that makes sense.
Sure. Oh, it does. Definitely.
Nothing beats, like if I were to put 2 people on the mat and one of them did both and one of them only did jiu-jitsu, I feel like the stronger person would win, right? Like look at Gordon and look at Andre and all of them, it's like they can at times, like, of course they both have awesome technique, but it also helps that they're huge.
Yeah, they're not human. Like I love those guys.
Both on Tyrannosaurus Rex blood, and,
right? But when you see them, you're like, I don't know. Yeah. What was that? Like, I love those guys.
ADCC is like, we're just not gonna even bother testing you guys. We know.
We encourage it.
Yeah. It's like Pride,
Yeah, I was just gonna say Pride would tell them that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, Pride would tell them that for sure.
I like, honestly,
I love Pride. I mean, too.
I don't see anything, as long as it's an even playing field. I don't really care, like on that subject. Like if everyone is doing the thing, like cool, like do the thing. But it's one thing when it's like everyone's kind of like playing the system, and like some people are on stuff and some people aren't. That's where I find it's like, especially because if it's the difference between, let's say, for example, with IBJJF, when they do the testing doesn't come out for another year or whatever it may be.
Oh, right.
Is that okay? I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. And the person who won world, so for example, like Felipe, so he like popped, but he also got to be that full year as world champ, where he's making all of this money because people want to bring him out for seminars, bring him out for privates, and he's able to charge a premium, and he's getting all of these opportunities when at the end of the day he cheated. Right. But it's like, if it's already in the rule set that they're like, we're not going to test you, then it's like, if you don't, then you don't. But it's like, you run the risk of like, what's going on.
Wow. I did not know this. So this, and everyone out there that listens to the show regularly, they know, like, I'm not very smart when it comes to a lot of jiu-jitsu stuff.
There's a lot to keep up with.
Right. But I did not know this rule. So I didn't know. I knew he popped. I knew all that stuff. But
it seems very random too on who tests and when. And it is USADA now. It is USADA.
Yeah.
And I think because one of our purple belts, Tim Stinson's a big Tynan Dalper fan, right? Who doesn't like him, right? And I think he said that Tynan's like one of the most tested athletes. He posted something about it.
Wow. Oh, I had no idea, bro. Honestly, all of the in my and this might be like kind of negative, but everyone's guilty until proven innocent at the top level with me. You know, it's like, I see you guys. Like, bro, I see you guys.
Like, that's not normal, man. Like, you can't, I don't care how much you eat, do whatever. There's no way you're getting that. Like, I go look at NFL players. They don't look like that.
Yeah.
Some of them do, but they've also done that since they were like super young, but they don't look like what I'm seeing like on the mat. Like, no chance.
But what I'm saying, I think the randomness is very select.
It's very select random.
You know what I mean? On who's getting
like the same name pops up every time.
Well, you pull a name out of a hat. You're pulling a name out of a hat. You're like, let's not do him.
Oh, yeah.
His professor since I was 15. So
right. Let's put that back.
Who knows? But my thoughts.
That's funny.
It's actually so kind of on that topic. I was at Worlds this last go around. And there are some, like, I don't exactly want to like say any names, but you probably have a couple people in mind. But like some of these older black belts, they have a lot of pull with these refs.
Oh yeah,
a lot of pull with these refs. And for example, I mean, like the whole Legion American Jiu-Jitsu thing doesn't exactly bode well for the advantages and the penalties and the decisions among those refs. So. Like, you kind of get what I'm getting at, but it's a very interesting thing. Like, I never experienced that before in any type of sport or really any type of, like, even jiu-jitsu. Like, I didn't experience that beforehand, but definitely being connected to Keenan gets you a little bit of a blackball in those IBJJF situations.
Well, I think we've seen that happen to Keenan a couple times,
right?
On advantages and points. And I don't remember what year it was, but I know there was one year it was pretty blatant. It seemed, that he didn't.
Yeah.
That he didn't.
Is there any way to like clean that up or fix that, or is this a money thing?
I should say no right away, but
well, no. I mean,
I lean towards no.
Yeah. It's one organization, right? I mean, it's
right.
And that's,
and they're kind of like the monopolizer of that organization, so they can kind of do what they want. Maybe go ahead, Gannon.
Like, I agree with that statement, to be honest, and I think that things are kind of shifting nowadays to where IBJJF used to be that pinnacle. Like everyone wanted to compete at other things so that they could go to IBJJF, and that's where they would they'd post it on Instagram, and it means everything as far as sponsors and things like that. But now there's Who's Number One, and there's like Fight to Win, and there's Fury Grappling, and like there's big, really well done organizations like Kazai. Kazai is probably the nicest competition that I have ever been a part of.
I wish they'd come back.
Me too, man. Like that Kazai. That was my favorite competition experience that I've had. And that was way back in 2018.
Where did they run out of, guys?
New York, I believe.
Is that where they're out of? Mm-hmm. Did COVID cause the shutdown for them, or did they
probably had a hand in it, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I haven't seen them in a long time.
Yeah.
But I was a part of Kazai 3, I believe, and I think they only got to 5 or 6, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. They threw some good shows though.
But so pretty much like my point with that is like, we just can't have it be monopolized by, honestly, all Brazilians, it's like, I don't want to get the race thing involved, but it's just true. Like most of these bigger organizations are run by Brazilians, and if they have a tight friendship with just throwing like an Andre Galvao or someone like that, like then it's going to sway it in some way. So it's hard to be, but Flow, for example, like they have their favorites for sure, and you can see throughout their stuff. But I mean, the more high level competitions that are run, the more opportunities athletes will have to get a fair shake.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's what I love about having, look, I'm a hobbyist at best, but having the opportunity to be able to see all the, now the bigger productions that are doing it. Like, obviously I'm a huge fan of, Fight to Win and Who's Number One and all that kind of stuff. Cause I just like to watch matches just in general. Having an opportunity to watch ADCC, last night, the Open and stuff like that. But there are places that are starting to come around now. Like, that, like you were just saying with the other organization that you were a part
Kasai,
of, Kasai. It's cool. Like, I love it. And what's your favorite? So I'm going to pivot there. What's your favorite rule set? Do you have a favorite?
I have some that I lean towards. Like I'll pretty much compete anywhere, but my favorites would definitely be shorter time limits. So but I'm not a huge fan of the long time limits.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it's just that's not a fan favorite. It doesn't benefit the fans in any way. And at the end of the day, I prefer super fights. I prefer game planning for one person. You also get paid pretty well for these super fights, and you don't have to pace yourself. If someone gave me a 6-minute sub only match, I would take it now, right now, because those are the easiest ones to game plan for. Go in there, submit that person, that's it. I do enjoy points in certain instances, but most of those times it's for tournaments that have a lot of matches, right? If I have 8 matches, I'm not going to be wanting to go 10 minutes with all of them.
Right. You're trying to get it over as quick as you can.
That's a ridiculous amount of time to be going against good people.
Right. Definitely.
So I definitely prefer sub only, and I definitely prefer shorter times.
Shorter times. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's been and who am I to say anything, but the who's number one, that's been my thing. The long time limits. I'm I love to see you guys. You're giving me what I want to see as a fan, but the time is so long. I'm
they're 20-minute matches or something like that.
Yeah, man.
And then that's tedious.
Yeah, man. And there's 3 people right here that love jiu-jitsu, and we don't want to watch that.
Right. So imagine someone who's brand new.
Yeah.
They're just not going to. Yeah.
You get two guys at that level, especially Nogi. Man, after 10 minutes, you're going to be too slippery to do anything. And then they put that no time limit match on, that debacle a couple months ago, right? Where there's that 2-hour match.
Oh, where they moved it when Gordon was taking on the They moved that match to the back mat, and it was
that one was painful. I tuned out. Dude. I tuned out for a full hour, and I just
you come back to see who
someone
wins.
We watched that. I watched that. My girlfriend and I watched that whole match. She just got her blue belt when Terry did a couple of weeks ago. So she likes jiu-jitsu, but she doesn't watch it like we do, right? But she watched that whole thing and they moved it. She's like, this is crap. Now we don't even get to see, you know what I mean?
And so mad.
She was so mad.
I remember.
She's like, I'm going to bed, because it was after midnight when it was on.
That's super frustrating.
It's frustrating. And my thought is they only moved it because Gordon Price said, come on, guys, we gotta we gotta go.
Yeah. He's like, bro, I'm tired.
Yeah. Right. I need to get this over with. I have however long it's going to take me to do this.
A hot date after this, man. I got to get out of here.
Exactly.
I'm going to make short work of this guy anyways. It's fine. I honestly think what would be kind of interesting would be I don't know if there's someone who already does this. What if there were organizations in jiu-jitsu that did it similar to MMA? So there's 3 rounds. If it goes to a submission, that person wins. But each individual round, it's pretty short, 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you start from the feet, right? You go with a certain point system. Like I said, submission cuts it. But at the end of that, you have 3 different refs judging those 3 rounds. And whoever won the 3 rounds, they win. I feel like that's
isn't that kind of how Olympic wrestling is, Terry? Or maybe not Olympic wrestling, but they do periods.
They do periods in it. Yeah, they do. Now, Olympic wrestling straight.
Not Olympic,
Greco. Greco is
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
But man, you're on to something, Gannon. So one, they do, it's just straight up in cage. I know it's still in cage, but it's just a straight up match, time limit, whatever it is. It's 5-8 minutes, whatever that round is, and that's it.
Yeah.
There could be something to that to bring an evolution to grappling. It's hey, this is going to be MMA, but there's no punches thrown. It's hey, you have an opportunity to take down people, whatever. It doesn't have to be in a cage. It could be on a mat.
I hate when they do grappling in a cage.
It's hard to see everything.
Yeah.
It's not fan friendly at all.
Yeah.
No.
That would be
they always find a wall.
They're going to find a wall. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Here, if you had it on a mat, just like any other tournament, let's say, and this like, hey, you have three, and then you have hey, he's doing this. You could even game plan. Your coaches could talk to you a little more straightforward, face to face in a corner type deal. That could be. I would watch that. I mean,
be interesting.
I might be biased too because I watch everything. So
I feel like it would also be more approachable to a UFC fan. Or an MMA fan in general.
You could bridge that separation. Yeah, you could bridge the separation right now.
I know one is starting to host a lot of these grappling matches. I haven't watched one yet, but I heard about the bags that they're making, which is awesome. But it's like, if those start to become these long matches, it's like people aren't going to want to watch that.
No.
So I don't know how long. Have you guys seen the one championship one?
I just watched. I watched Tommy Lineker and Canuto. You got to watch that.
That's a sick one.
That's really a sick match.
Sick match,
yeah.
Really good grappling match.
It's probably less than 10 minutes. 10 minutes at the most.
Yeah. It's not 10 minutes. Isn't
that's
terrible.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like, and honestly, because you start looking at like yourself, like you're watching the match as a fan, and you're looking at the clock in the corner of the TV or whatever it is, the device you're watching on, and you're like, okay, there's only a few minutes left. But if it's super long, you're like, gosh, we're only 5 minutes into this thing, and I got like 20 minutes left to go. It's like, come on.
Well, I think too, we're conditioned now to watch them 20-minute matches. So now if you go back to 10, you're even more engaged.
Right.
You're like, oh crap, this is only 10 minutes. I got this.
ADCC open yesterday. I was
man. It's
my son was at football practice, and I was like on my phone. Gets match after match all the way up till super late last night.
I want an organization that's going to bring exciting gi matches too. Like I like the gi a lot more.
Where's the gi? Where's the gi in recent years? I understand like no gi is very like I do both.
Yeah.
So I find both of them
we do as well.
Exciting, but kind of like you were saying, I do miss some of these high level gi matches.
Yeah.
But I could also see kind of what we were talking about before, like a really or at least shorter matches with those, because I can see the gi getting more boring for the non like jiu-jitsu person.
The non day-to-day fan, let's say.
Right.
Yeah, because they're stalling
properly. That's like
if they structure it properly, and I think it depends a lot on the competitor too, because gi or no gi, you're gonna watch the Rotullo brothers, right?
Right.
You're gonna watch
100%.
Mika Galval. You're going to watch him.
Yep.
So I think a lot of it depends on, but somebody's got to bring some gi matches back somehow. I know Fight to Win does their gi stuff, but they usually have one big headliner.
Yeah.
I think my one critique of Fight to Win, I've competed at a couple of them, and like they're super well run and all of that kind of stuff. But if they would just do a few less and make them higher like prestige, because they'll let anyone on a Fight to Win.
Oh yeah,
they'll let anyone who can sell tickets, and I think that's cool. Like I think it's cool to have an entry type of tournament, but to make it more alluring for super high level athletes, they can't let that happen, because there were some of them where I was on there and I'm like, or I would apply to them and not get accepted, and I'm like, dude, I do jiu-jitsu full time. This guy literally trains like once a week. And it's like nothing against them. Like I think everyone deserves an opportunity to compete, but it's if Fight to Win wants to be that like pinnacle, like they want to be like who's number one, they have to tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, because they'll have 35 fights too, right? Like
that's what I mean. Yeah, right. It would be nice. You're right to make like you could build cards that way, even not just here's the thing. One type deal. You could do Fight to Win.
Why couldn't who's number one do a gi tournament, or not a tournament, but a gi night? There's no reason at all.
Exactly. They have the base, like they have
they have the platform for sure.
Isn't who's number one is technically the same team as Flow Grappling, so like they have the plug.
They do.
It's theirs.
Watchers.
Yes.
You know?
And they have not everybody they have on does just no gi, right? I mean,
right. Yeah, Marigali's just doing it because it's a good check.
Because that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Right.
He's like, you know what? I like no-gi now.
Right.
Yeah.
He just got
$40,000. I like
I'll take it. No problem. Which he's really good. By the way. He had a match with my boy JR, and I mean, dude, JR's a sick brown belt. Like he's won no-gi pans and all of that stuff. And I mean,
Dude, Marigali's big.
He's
JR's big, and he made JR look small.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
I remember watching that match. I didn't know he was your teammate until now. It's like coming to me now, like who JR's out of and stuff. But yeah, I remember watching that match. Like they're big guys, both big guys,
big dudes.
Man, there might be something in the water in Austin, Texas. I don't know.
No, there is. I mean, come on, we've said it like
a couple things.
Yeah, you drive down there around their high school stadiums look like NFL stadiums. You know, grappling has become a huge nation there. Oh yeah, like in Texas,
football's big in Texas.
Football's huge in Texas. So now grappling's becoming bigger, obviously, with the transition of people that have went out there and started academies. But it's been kind of big out there. Wrestling is very big in Texas, and football is very big. Yeah, there are high schools out there. I'm not kidding, man. Like they have like college tailgating that goes on, like massive tailgating, like
for
under the
light.
For high school games, and their stadiums for high schools look like NFL stadiums. It's ridiculous.
That's crazy. Insane. So are all of these people migrating over to Texas because of like tax implications, and they just don't want to be in California, or is it?
I think a lot of it. Well, I think a lot of it came from COVID. That's when a lot of people made the move because Texas was wide open. Like we don't care what you do, right?
They're in Florida, man. I mean, Florida was the same way.
I mean, that's what Rogan talks about. That's why Rogan moved to Austin.
Yeah, he talks about it openly,
and then he talked to all of his friends into moving to Austin. So
no kidding.
He's like building a huge comedy club in Texas.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah,
that's sick.
Yeah,
that's really crazy. Cool.
So, and it's cool that he sponsors Gordon and stuff. He gave him like 100 G's for ADCC.
I saw that. That's awesome.
Easy,
dude.
Awesome for some people. Hey, I want that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can give back, but find something. My podcast, our podcast.
Kind of going back to the topic of like making money in competition and making money in business. It's like the Gordon Ryans can make bands, probably more than you can make with your average to well-off jiu-jitsu school. But it's like that is the 0.0001%. I just think that's rough.
Yeah,
it's a lot of unpaid hours until you do break through and make that kind of money.
Yeah,
same with business, but I just feel like
he's like the Apple or Microsoft of what I mean.
Blue chip.
He's the blue chip of what the grappling business is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's understandable.
He's won 57 matches in a row. That's what he said on yes.
Right.
Yes.
In a and most by submission.
Against not against chumps either.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, most of those guys can do as well as he has done against everybody else. You know what I mean? Outside of him.
Man, it's so funny. Some of the comments that he would get about how he's only taken matches against wrestlers or these comedic matches and stuff. I'm like, bro, just stop it. Like he could walk in there and just wipe the floor with most of these guys and probably the person commenting. I think like people that's actually something I've experienced very recently. Ever since I got about 15 to 20,000 followers, I started to get like farther and farther away from the people who like I know that follow me, like my actual friends and people that I would speak to.
Sure.
And now I'm getting these crazy comments to the point where I just like delete them. I'm like, man, you guys are wild the way you talk to people. Like,
social media is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's super nuts. I don't know either of these individuals, but there was a brouhaha last night in the ADCC. There was a little bit of a slap or punch, and let's go from there. There was
you didn't see it yet, Gannon?
There was a knife that was pulled out by one of the coaches. This was like a bench clearing. I was like watching the match, and I go, "What the?" I was like, "Oh, dude,
what is that?"
He just swung at that guy, and then I'm like, "Oh, just some punches." And then it was like everyone just ran onto the mats, and you can't really see what happens. And I was watching it on Flow, so there's no real sound of stuff. Like it's very minimal. You know what I mean?
They didn't have any commentators at the time.
Yeah, you're just hearing coaches and stuff, but you hear people, and you hear someone like, he's got a knife. And then, so Mo today did a thing like the two people are banned. The one guy that was competing is is fine, but one of the coaches is banded for life, and then the other competitor who threw the punches and got really upset is banded for life. So my point is, I'm curious. So I'm reading down through the comments on when they posted it, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to read those. And you just go, no one gets it, do they? No one gets this, like, both ways. Like, I'm not saying anything that happened last night was right, but both people are defending things at one side or the other. And I was like, this is all wrong. And we want more people to watch grappling. I was like,
yeah, that's tough, man. Thank God it didn't happen during the big ADCC.
Someone else posted that too.
In general.
Yeah. I just sent it to you on IG, Gannon, the brawl.
I'll definitely check that out.
You're going to be like, what?
Yeah,
like, I was kind of like, I can't believe this happened.
You texted me early this morning. You're like, you see the guy that pulled the knife? I'm like, what? what did I miss?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he was the coach of the guy who got punched. So he's quote unquote banded for life. And then the competitor, and apparently this competitor has done stuff in the past. But I don't know the validity of that. So J Rod supposedly was thrown through a table at a competition through the judges table by this competitor. And I guess this is something that has happened in the past, but I don't know that because I don't know this person. So, if anyone out there wants to attack me, by all means, go ahead. It's just like, I don't care.
You don't know what you're talking
right. It's like, I don't, and it's fine. You do you, brother.
Man.
So anyway, but yeah, you're right. I mean, again, like, social media can be awesome. It's definitely awesome, but it also is terrible too, because there's too many people out there that's like, try to be something they are not every day. And it's just like, come on, like, why all of a sudden
everyone's comments and opinions mean something, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I've grown up with social media, but I would assume that beforehand it was like, you learned about people without them being there, right? So like the word of mouth is strong. Like, I speak highly of this other guy and that gives him validity. But nowadays it's like anyone who makes an Instagram profile feels the need to like comment on people's stuff and they think their word is law. So it's just an interesting world we live in.
It is definitely, man, especially in our community. Cause like, I know you have a lot of online content, a lot of moves, techniques and stuff. And I love it. I love people that put techniques out there because for me, it's like it's a well for me just to keep going back to. And just to see things or to see things differently and have a broader mind space and think about it differently. And then to read comments of something, if they try to dog like, oh, that doesn't work or this. And I'm like, you're an idiot. Man. Like, you're an idiot.
That's my favorite thing.
Why would you even say that?
It's like, man, I only did this for 8 years every day. You know what? You're right. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. Like, it's
tough.
It's ridiculous, man. It's really ridiculous.
I had wanted to put Terry's the one that kind of talked me into filming some stuff, because every now and again I'll film something and put it on IG or
like, let's do it, man. Technique Tuesday, baby.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I didn't want to do it forever because I'm like, what if somebody says something? He's like, what if they say something? Right. I mean, we're all afraid of that. Yeah. And I would post in that BJJ Fanatics forum too, just to kind of get some views and stuff. And a couple of people are like, well, what if this? I'm like, well, that's jujitsu, right? We're playing the ultimate game of what if. I mean,
that's such a lame like thing to bring up. Like, man, I posted, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was like the train wreck throw that Herbert Santos and like Tim Spriggs and Rodolfo,
Tim Spriggs,
all of them use that train wreck throw. And it's such a small, like easy thing. The judo community hated me. They were like, that's not what it's called. That's not how you do it. And people are just like putting laughing emojis. I'm like, bro, like it works for these people, and I do it in training all the time. Like, okay, I'm sorry. Like, you guys don't like the technique, that's fine. Like, you still followed me.
It's it's just stupidity. It's ignorant.
That train wreck works in real life too. So years ago, we taught that it was before you were around, Terry. It was at the last location.
I thought you were going to say before Gannon was born. I was like, holy crap. I'll take before I'm around. So that's good.
But we taught that for a while, and we had one of our police officers actually use it in the line of duty, I guess you would say. Yeah. Like, had somebody on a porch that was really causing some issues, and they had to get him, and that's
he got train wrecked.
Yeah, he got train wrecked.
He got train wrecked.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, it legit works. So
I will say Brazilian jiu-jitsu, whatever we want to call it, has some of the greatest names ever, because people will say stuff and I'm like, I have no freaking idea what that is.
I've been so the cow catcher or the cement mixer?
Yeah,
like
a cement mixer. Yeah.
I called it the neck obliterator.
I saw that.
And people just like, it was literally a test. Like, it was a test to see how many people would comment and be like, that's this, that's that. And I got so many people, and it got so many more views because of that. It's just like so crazy how like the internet works.
There you go, Chad.
I'm gonna just keep doing it.
We're just gonna rename stuff. We're gonna start filming Technique Tuesday. Yeah. We're just gonna rename it something like toilet flusher or something.
Well, I did that one time. There's it was like an Ezekiel choke, but I called, how Keenan does the diesel squeezle.
Yeah.
I called it the Giesel squeezle, like in the gi instead of an Ezekiel. Just to see what people would say. I don't know if they probably didn't even see mine. Their algorithm's not catching me yet.
Man, that's so funny. Like people get very offended about renaming things, and it's like, man, Eddie Bravo must catch so much heat.
I mean,
no kidding, for sure. Yeah.
But it's like, what are you going to tell the guy? Like, he's probably a millionaire off of this.
He's
like, oh no, you don't like my vaporizer. Like that. Yeah. I'm sorry you feel that way.
And
but I made a lot of money off.
A lot of money. Imagine how many affiliates he has. I mean, I can't even imagine how many affiliates.
I'm sure.
Hundreds.
Yeah,
hundreds.
And hundreds, like that.
Yeah. Right.
Dude, if he even has like 1%, 5% of these businesses, he's banding. Like that's and that's just kind of like the type of things that only recently I've thought about as far as like the scalability of jiu-jitsu and what it can do. Like the greatest investment you can make, in my opinion, as a teacher, is into your students.
Yeah.
And that's as far as like just altruism, monetarily, like spiritually,
sure.
Like all of these different ways that you can possibly imagine that statement. It's very cool to see I've only promoted one person, and I did it when I first got my brown belt, he's a purple belt now. And I mean, he trains more than me. Like the dude he's a psychopath. Dude wakes up at 4 a.m,
nice. Works
out, goes to work, trains 3 times, 2 times, whatever it is. And he's ridiculous. Just an animal. But it's just cool to see.
What'd you promote him to, if you don't mind me asking?
Purple belt. Purple belt
nice.
When I was a brown belt, which is like definitely taboo. And it was something that I was uncomfortable doing at the time, but it was like, I knew that he wasn't going to let me down. I knew that he wasn't one of those guys that is just going to like take his foot off the gas, or he's going to.
He wasn't quitting. He wasn't going to walk away.
Me look bad,
Yeah, and sometimes you got to make those decisions. There was a time where we didn't have an affiliation for a while, and I was a brown belt, and there were some guys that were purple belts and crushing it. Right. I promoted him to brown belt. Like, I'm like, I wasn't going to apologize for it. Like,
sometimes you just have to own it. And it's like, that's, so you fully understand like where I'm coming from.
For sure.
So did you start in a like program as like a purple brown belt type thing? Yeah.
No. So I've been running our program since I was a 2-stripe white belt.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Love it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I was a white belt.
My first instructor was a blue belt. He started our gi program. So back in the day in this area, there wasn't any gi jiu-jitsu, right?
Gotcha.
MMA was getting big and there was a lot of no gi. Like my first jiu-jitsu class was no gi, and we were doing some grappling, but then we were also doing clinch work and wall work. I'm like, I thought this was jiu-jitsu, but anyway, so we finally got a good gi program, and the guy that was the blue belt he got a second job or whatever. He's like, hey, the program's yours. I'm like, okay. And that's, I was a 2-stripe white belt trying to teach him stuff.
Yeah, but don't sell yourself story. He's not telling you the whole story again. And like, he also went to like ton of seminars every
I did.
Weekend.
I was a seminar
traveling, junkie, and he's like, a plethora of studying, the
old tour.
Yes.
I did a lot of seminars.
Jiu-jitsu tour. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you also realize that all seminars aren't created equal too. Like just because
not even close.
You're a world champion doesn't mean it's a good seminar. You know what I mean?
Man, through working for Jiu-Jitsu X, I learned how do I put this nicely? Terrible. Some of these really good jiu-jitsu guys are at teaching. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like you are one of the sickest practitioners I've ever seen, and you cannot teach an armbar.
Yeah.
It's a skill in itself. And that was really what amazed me about Andris more than anything. He's as good as he is in jiu-jitsu, he's a better coach than like, he's fantastic. I mean, the stuff that I gleaned from him in the last year and a half, 2 years will like pay in dividends for the rest of my life. Seriously.
Sure. Yeah.
Fantastic.
You see some of those guys, like we've had Christian Woods-Manzi in for seminars a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like that dude, the way he breaks down concepts and teaches jiu-jitsu is amazing.
It's phenomenal.
Man. Phenomenal.
Man,
it's phenomenal.
I was supposed to go to one of his seminars not too long ago. And then I couldn't make it because of a work thing. But super bummer. But I have a friend who just got his black belt under him.
Okay.
And I'm going to need to go and visit again. They're in, I think it's North or South Carolina. And it's like a 6-hour drive, but I'll do it again.
Oh, the affiliate.
The affiliate. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. He's got a bunch. Christian's got a bunch of affiliates now.
Man, he's one of those guys that's kind of like taking everything full steam ahead with his business too. I've seen like he has a website. He has all these affiliates. He's on Jiu-Jitsu X. He's like doing all
he's
this
got
stuff.
his online curriculum.
Yeah. Logic BJJ. Yep.
Fantastic. And it's like you're seeing Logic pop up more and more every day.
I mean,
absolutely, man.
As you were saying earlier in the show, again, and Christian is a prime example of not having to win like a world title and be like explode. You know what I mean? Like he built his business and traveled and you know what I mean? Like that's big. It still can be done. It's just grinding and pushing.
It's grind. That dude, like people say there's, I'm the hardest worker in jiu-jitsu. That dude might be.
I think
like as many seminars as he does, like legit.
He does so many seminars. His content is awesome. Like his mindset is awesome. And I'm not even like big on competition, but it's like even just watching his stuff, it makes me want to compete. You know? Sure. He's very motivational. In a very blunt way. You know, he's not very disrespectful, but he's blunt. He's not going to take a shit. You know, and it's very, very cool to see someone that is like toes that line, because I've seen like intense instructors get kind of disrespectful, like they kind of like go too far, and then there's people who don't like push their students enough, and he's found like that good middle ground, which I really appreciate.
Very matter of fact.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
For sure.
So
hey man, some of the greatest, honestly, I mean, in every sport and I've talked about on the show before, you don't have to be the top of the top of the top to be the greatest coaches in the world, because honestly, the greatest coaches have come from never winning the top prize. They've become the best coaches. You know what I mean? You can compete well all you want and be great, but you could maybe coaching is that. So
I've talked about it. I think I made a Facebook post a couple years ago, is as a jiu-jitsu is one of them, martial arts in general, I guess it's never okay for your student to beat the coach. Right. But we don't ask whoever, right, Bill Belichick to go kick a field goal, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Sure.
It's only martial arts that's not okay. Like, oh man, you let a purple belt tapped you, a blue belt tapped you. Like,
right.
I don't know.
I mean, hey, look at Gordon and Gary Tonin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Primary soup. Yeah. Great point.
Like sometimes it's just like and not to say that Gary Tonin isn't a legend, which he is, but it's like at a certain point, sometimes like I've even noticed this with some of my students now, like now that they're getting towards like purple and brown belt, they know my game better than anyone else, because I've taught my game to them, so they are some of my most difficult roles because of that fact.
Well, you've created them.
You created them.
And that's what we should want as instructors. We should want that push. If we're not getting it, then we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
I think Tom DeBlas made a really good point about it. He's like, man, I keep building these guys up to stab me in the back.
That's actually great. I didn't see that one, but that's awesome. He always has some great stuff. It's a good point. I mean, it's in a fun way. You are.
Yeah.
You're building them up to be like, crap, this guy's going to beat me someday.
Yeah.
Actually, when I'm a little bit older and slower, I mean, I'm just going to like hop on a cycle and then it'll be like bing, bang, boom. We're back at it.
Right. This is good to go.
I always tell Nick that's the purple belt that I promoted. I was like, bro, right when I hit like 35, you're done. Like I'm going to get on trend and it's over. Until then, I'm going to ride this wave.
I'll be 47 next Thursday and I'm still waiting on my old man strength. I don't know when it's coming. I don't know when it's coming, but it
doesn't have to, because he has ridiculous flexibility and his legs end up in your face and you're like, man, where did that foot come from? Like, what the heck?
Like, I definitely traded strength for flexibility. I'll take it.
That's one thing that I miss about, I don't know, maybe I just haven't been as dedicated to stretching, but when I was a little bit younger, I was much more flexible. Now I feel like I'm not even close and I'm going to need to get it back because there's only like a window of that. If I'm not mistaken, like if I get too stiff, then I'm going to get hurt and then can't train. And it just like,
brother, I want to see you past that 90 degrees. Yeah. Like I better see some videos past this 90 degrees. All right? I'm going to start messaging you. I'll be like, listen, man, what's going on here?
Sticks or like
That's awesome. Well, hey man, we got you for almost an hour and a half. Appreciate it greatly. Why don't you do this? Shout out everything you want people to get at, how to find you on social media, anything that you want sponsor wise, and we put it in the show notes so people can click on it and get to you. Tell us what's going on next, man. Like, what's your thing? Like, what's going to happen? What's going down? Tell us.
Awesome. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. It went super smooth, and I didn't even notice we'd been talking for an hour and a half.
That's what we love. That's what we want.
Yeah. So, everyone, the biggest thing that I'm pushing right now is my YouTube. I'm putting a lot of my older content and newer content first on my YouTube Shorts, and it's just at Gannon Lang. I'm also pumping my TikTok at Gannon Lang again. My Instagram is there as well. It's at Gannon_Lang. And then I'm all over Jiu-Jitsu X. I have 3 different instructionals on there, so you can find me there. I think those are the biggest things. And then my sponsors, I have Progress Jiu-Jitsu. Shout out to them. They're my newest sponsor and they're awesome. Like everyone that I've dealt with at Progress has been fantastic. I'm super excited to like continue building my relationship with them. My second most recent sponsor, Celsius, the energy drink. You guys have probably seen it in Wawa and things like that. They've been really good to me. They're like super easy to deal with. I absolutely love their product. I am a certified Celsius addict, so definitely check out some Celsius. Nice. And then I'm also with Strongarmsports. They're my oldest sponsor. So definitely check them out on Instagram. And I believe, so they have a website as well. Okay, and I believe it's just look up Strongarmsports and you'll find them.
Nice. Cool.
And then keep on the radar for Nexus American Jiu-Jitsu. It'll be up and running hopefully by the end of the year.
Cool. Awesome, man.
Maybe we can
go ahead, Chad.
I was saying maybe we can add Limitless tape to that list sometime. We'll see.
I was going to tell you, man. We sent that to you. Try it out. Let us know, man. Be straight up honest with us. Yeah. We went through a process picking it out, and Chad and I did our due diligence in order to make sure we produce a good product for people, and especially in our community. And check it out. And if you need some more, man, holler at us, and we'll send you some. And all those links will be in the show notes for people to click on it, or at least copy and paste, or whatever needs to be happening in order to find you, get to you. Thank you greatly. It was an honor to hang out with you and talk to you. And good luck, man, in the future, and keep us posted if there's anything we can help out with, or, you get the new gym up and running or whatever's happening, brother, let us know, man, what we can do. So,
yeah,
go ahead, Chad.
Right back at you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It'd be cool to get you up here for a seminar sometime, get you up to Ohio.
For sure. Yeah. I'd love to come through.
Yeah.
I don't have to say it's cold up here because you already know what it's like to be cold. So it's like, it's like you went from this side to California to back. So you already know.
I did it to myself.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Very cool. Well, God bless you and your fiance and everything that you're doing, man. Keep up the great work and appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy.